This is the Oz report for April 2nd, 2022. And let's start actually with Plex real quick. We've seen Plex rallying for the best part of the year. It's reaching very, very high, over 3 million. And this week was the first time that it went down quite significantly. And that one reason for that obviously is the Plex for Good campaign being over. The other reason is the just overall high Plex prices are going to drive people to sell off stockpiles and cash it on that. I mentioned that last week on the Oz report that I thought now was a good time to liquidate, and so I'm not very surprised, and it's probably going to sink a little bit more as we go through the next weeks. Let's continue with skill points as we have been. This is the last time I will be mentioning the bonding cerebral accelerators. Not only do they expire this upcoming week, but they are also gone from the market, basically. So there's none left in the market. They were too expensive the last few weeks anyway, so this is not market relevant anymore. What is relevant is that this means that right now there will not be any active event cerebral accelerators in the game. And that is a stark contrast to the last few months where there was always one or two active. So people are going to default back to Master at Arms cerebral accelerators and Expert cerebral accelerators. And those two, they are moving back to their equilibrium prices. So that should be a payday for all of you who have been listening to the Oz report in the last few weeks. Because we're seeing continuous increase here, and you could see another little bump there once next week the 8th I think rolls around, where the bonding ones are going to be expiring, right? Another effect that we're seeing is that the large skill injectors are significantly rising in price. Two reasons there as well. We're back up to 650 million, which is honestly speaking very, very nice. After the Oz report, I will share my personal story about these and how I made out like a bandit on those. But there's two reasons again on these large skill injectors. One is for Plex for Good. A lot of people were liquidating their characters if they were quitting the game because they've been waiting for a good Plex for Good campaign to basically extract the characters and sell a whole lot of large skill injectors on the market, convert that to Plex, and then donate it to leave the game, to win EVE in a very stylish manner. That contributed in the last few weeks for a trend that was already pointing downwards on large skill injectors to become even steeper. Now that is over, and that coincides with the cerebral accelerators expiring, and large skill injectors are another way of immediately earning skill points. So here you have another reason for people to buy large skill injectors because the cerebral accelerators are not available anymore, and that is another reason why the price has gone back up on these. Now it's going to be interesting how the dropping Plex price and rising large skill injector price interact, because as we've talked about on the stream many times, there is a relationship there, and that is called skill farming. Skill farming is essentially turning Plex via subscription into large skill injectors, and that's the very simplified form of skill farming. If you're interested in more in that, come watch my stream. But that will mean that dropping Plex prices will typically result in after a lag into an increased large skill injector supply in the market, and so that's going to be very interesting to see. But for now, we're seeing dropping Plex prices, rising large skill injector prices, and that makes a lot of sense in the short to midterm right now. Okay. Let's talk about R4 moon materials. Specifically, R4 is atmospheric gases, evaporate deposits, hydrocarbons, and silicates. we're talking about an already dropping markets. Moon materials, they've been dropping 5 to 10% every week for the past few weeks because of added availability in the market, and now also compression being in the game, right? So we're talking about R4 Moon materials dropping very, very quickly this week, another 20%. So the drop this week is mainly to be attributed to R4 Moon materials. What can we read out of that? One theory is that this is the most common moon goo. So yes, you know, that might have something to do with it. But I think also another thing that also plays into this is that the R4 moon materials are actually the ones that go into faction ship construction, into battleship construction, into capital construction. And if CCP ends up nerfing those BPCs again, going back on some of the changes that they introduced last year, then the demand on R4 moon goo is going to be hit significantly if they attack moon materials. Now, one theory is they're going to attack gases and not moon materials, but until they implement it in the game, we just don't know. They may have not even finally decided that themselves, right? So this might also be on top of the compression and the increased supply in the game. This might also be people speculating that these are going to be much less demanded going forward, so we might be also seeing a panic on top of that. Okay. On the other hand, since the 7% drop in moon materials this week can be mainly attributed to our 4 moon materials, this also means that all of the other ones, they didn't really drop all that much, and some of them actually increased in price, and that's really good to see, right? Let's talk about advanced moon materials. So these are the advanced moon materials are the ones that you create out of moon materials with reactions, and that are then used in, for example, in tier 2 production. For one, we're seeing Ferrogel, which significantly jumped this week, right? We're seeing Ferrogel prices of 29,000, and you can already see here that I am trying to sell all of mine, or a lot of mine, because this is a price that is considering the input materials and considering the price where moon materials are at is very, very high. So if you're sitting on Ferrogel right now, it's definitely time to sell, because I don't think the price can hold. I think this is all attributable to 1 or 2 people buying up large chunks of the markets, and this is a price that should be dropping rather soon. Tungsten Carbide is the opposite. Tungsten Carbide dropped in price so much that this is actually, if you look at the raw materials that go into this, is trading too low. So I've been buying into Tungsten Carbide because I think that at 120 right now, this is not really sustainable. So either we're going to see an additional drop in the moon materials that go into Tungsten Carbide, but remember, we've already seen moon materials drop for a very, very long time. It has to reach the bottom at some point, right? And so I actually think it's quite a good investment to invest in Tungsten Carbide right now. At least I have, right? Ceramic fibers, I'm just mentioning those because that's the advancement moon material that dropped the most in price this week. And they're also right now at the 200 sell price. This is actually also trading below the price of all of the moon materials that go into it. So this is a very similar situation to Tungsten Carbide, okay? Let's talk about salvage and drone parts real quick. Elite Drone AI. Elite Drone AI is the is the biggest part of the drone part markets. It's huge. It used to be even bigger because it was the main component in not only augmented drones but excavator drones. Excavator drones are not used anymore, and that's not really used anymore, and that's why we saw this huge drop over the last few months. Now, if we look at what's happening now, there's actually a comeback of price back to 1 million, right? So this means that this stack right here, somebody has been buying up the Elite Drone AI market like crazy, right? Now it's either somebody that's clueless of why Elite Drone AI has been dropping, because there's really no There's really no indication why demand would be rising again at this point in time. So it's either speculation, right? Or it's somebody that's, you know, using them in not in high sec, outside of high sec, and just needed a lot of elite drone AI. Either way, I think at 1 million is a time to sell stockpiles if you have them, because I don't think that this price is going to hold. So I think this is a sell right now. Now, if we're looking at yeah, and I'm looking at chat right now. That's a very good point. The Garista egg event, that is the egg hunt that is coming up, that's going to be dropping gecko blueprints. And for the gecko, you do need a lot of elite drone AI, so that could be one factor in that for sure. However, that would still mean that you know, you need to speculate on geckos not dropping in price a lot. So which they will also do during that event. They're also going to be a good investment during that event, by the way. But sure, that's a very good point. Let's talk about enhanced ward consoles and ward consoles. That is salvage materials that is used in mostly in shield extenders and shield purgers, and those have significantly increased. Those are trading very expensive right now. If you're holding enhanced ward console, right now is the time to sell them. And even ward consoles have significantly increased in price. If you look at this right here, sell at like 26, 27, it hasn't been at that price for about 2 months, right? One theory is that it could be the current free-for-all cruiser event that's going on, that will be using a lot of tier 1 and tier 2, if they are allowed, shield extenders and shield purgers. Either way, those are rigs that are very popular, and so these were trading low. Somebody, you know, bought a bunch of them. You know, sell them if you have them. In the example of ward console, the margin right now is actually so high that you can put good buy orders in, as well, as you can see from my buy orders that you see here on the screen. Contaminated Lawrence fluid, I'm just mentioning that because this is a very volatile market right now. There's less than 1 trade day left in this. This is a critical component in structural rigs that is traded at a very high volume. If you look at the available quantity here, there's no significant quantities at all here until you get to like 160, and you can see the current price is 126 and the buy price is creeping up at 120. So this is, first of all, this is buyout, you know, territory, so you could easily buy these out and push the price up if you're interested in pushing the price up. On the other hand, you can also see that the volume has been very high, so this is an indication of somebody going in and buying out the market. And then these are probably people that are clueless as to the current sell price, or that don't care about the current sell price and just put them out there at the average price. So these orders, all they don't really matter. They're very small. This right here is quite significant. This is getting into quite significant quantities, even though, as I said, overall only 1 trade day left. So look at there to be a lot of volatility in contaminated Lawrence fluid. If you're trading in those, you're going to be bound to be able to make some money there. Let's look at trick ships real quick, because 0-point condensate, which I don't have as one of the items here, but let me 0-point field manipulators, sorry. 0-point field manipulators, we've been talking about these. They were crashing hard, and they've actually recovered a little bit or stabilized. So this means that the fear of 0-point field manipulators completely becoming almost worthless, or you know, being completely oversupplied, that has gone away in a way. So if we're looking at the Nurgle, for example, the Nurgle has been trading around 200 million. It's the 0-point field manipulator is a big chunk of that cost. It's trading way too cheap right now, especially if you're considering that a lot of other materials are also at a very low point, like abyssal materials and everything. So Nurgle right here, definitely a buy opportunity for me right now. The Injectors, even more so. You can see that the Injectors already has turned around in price a little bit. It has crossed the short-term trend, has crossed the midterm trend on the price graph, and that is basically due to 0-point field manipulators making up over half the cost of an Injector. So if those stabilize, if those come back, then the Injector will also rise in price again. So I think that we might have seen bottom price on Nurgle and Injectors, barring some major changes to the game. Heavy entropic disintegrators, just quickly, they're being bought. There's actually demand on here. So there's actual indications of people demanding goods again that are made up of abyssal materials. So maybe we'll finally see a recovery there, right? More fight, just quickly want to mention it. It's significant because here also you're seeing the short-term trend crossing the midterm trend. So maybe we've seen bottom more fight. Very careful with that because I've said that before. But it seems to be stabilizing this week. Keep an eye out. If it's starting to rise again, it might be a good buy opportunity. Multiple pilot training certificates. These were on sale like crazy last week. They did drop a few percentage points. They didn't drop as much as they would have as they used to, simply because a lot of these packs where you buy these in now directly apply them. For example, the 50% off MCT and Omega deal that happened again last week, that happens every 3 months. It applies it directly to your account, so you can't actually trade it. So this doesn't result in an oversupply. It results in a lack of demand for people that take advantage of that opportunity instead of buying the MPCTCs on the market. But yeah, so this basically was less of an opportunity as I thought. Still, you were able to buy these just below 1.2 million, and they're trading at 1.3 million. So I don't think anybody should be losing money on these. Obelisk, not really anything new here on the freighters. It's really just a question of what are we going to see? What type of BPC changes are we going to see on these capital ships before FanFest, combined with how big are the stockpiles? Because they're trading below build price or still, right? So I don't know if the BPC changes are even going to have that big of an impact on these freighters. Still, to be on the safe side, I am liquidating my stockpiles right now, because I think a change in BPCs is always going to have some sort of market impact here, even if they're trading below impact, because even if it's just a reaction on the market. These have been trading below build cost for the entire year, so apparently people don't need to build them for people to sell them, right? There's enough of these out there in the market. And at some point they're going to run out, but we're not there yet. Republic Fleet Captain Insignias, have to mention these because these spiked to insane spheres. So this is just again one person seizing on the opportunity of there being very few of these left in the market, and they basically bought up the entire market. And what we're ended up with is a price that is quite good at 330. That is something that we haven't seen, in half a year. So if you like me, if you like investing in these when they're cheap, right now is the time to sell these. And I'm going to finish today's Oz report with strontium clathrates, because it's the first time in a long time where we have seen an ice product actually rising in price quite significant. If you look at the strontium sell price right now in JITA, it's 2.8. 2.8 is right here. It hasn't been there similarly in half a year. And yes, this is single parties or alliances buying up large amounts of these, whether they need it for fuel or whatever they're doing with it, or for strategic reasons. But this is a big buy, and this is in a market where there has been an oversupply for the longest time. And so if you're holding on to these, definitely a sell market right now, okay? Because this price is going to crash down again. Okay, that's the Oz report for April 2nd. Now it's already April 3rd, but that's it for today. See you guys next week, and we're going to return to the regular stream. Thank you guys.